Is Tua Tagovailoa still at risk for significant injury if he starts this week in a must-win scenario against the New York Jets? We are going to talk about that and if we should all prepare ourselves for Snoop Huntley to once again start for the Miami Dolphins. We're going to dive deep into that subject. Got a whole bunch of information on it we're going to go over. Plus, we'll recap Miami's 20-3 win over the Cleveland Browns. We'll have the Jabroni of the week and so much more. Do me the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and let's get into this.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it!
You have got to be kidding me.
Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score!
Field down the near side, man open, touchdown!
The run from Tua Tagovailoa.
Touchdown!
He's going deep! He's got it for the touchdown again! Let's go!
Tagovailoa trying to make up for it. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown!
Touchdown, Dolphins! Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one. Appreciate each and every one of you coming through. I need you to do me the biggest favor in the world. Smash that like button as you do. It really does go a long way in helping me and the channel out. So please smash that like button as you are in here right now. There's already over 100 of you in there. Let's get those like buttons up. Those like button smashes up, all right? So here we are. The Dolphins are still alive in a season where we haven't looked like a playoff team. We haven't had the breaks that playoff teams get. Somehow, some way, the Miami Dolphins are still alive. Now, being a Dolphin fan, we're used to it. They don't control their own destiny. Obviously, we need the Broncos to win this weekend, and we're still waiting to figure out exactly what Andy Reid is going to do. But I'm going to tell you this. Like, listen, if that game was in Kansas City, I would actually put it 50-50 that the Broncos could lose. Now, it's probably more 25% that the Broncos are going to lose because, let's face it, no Mahomes, no Kelsey. But, I still keep thinking about this scenario. And, Carson Wentz started for the Rams, and he beat the 49ers last year when the 49ers went to the Super Bowl. Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo, they're not going to be benched. They're still going to coach their team to win. I think you're going to still have certain receivers are going to get a chance to make plays. Like, I think Xavier Worthy, I don't think he'll be benched. I think there's still going to be a chance, and hey, all we got to hope is Bo Nix has a really bad day. We got to hope Bo Nix has a really, really bad day. Again, smash that like button on this episode powered by BetUS. So here's praying. Bo Nix, sorry, brother. Praying you have a bad day. You've been impressive so far. Yeah, I'm gonna relax and I'm gonna pray on your downfall this Sunday. No offense. All right. So, on top of that, listen, I was the first one before anyone declaring yesterday that Tyler Huntley had the best game a backup has had in the Mike McDaniel era, and really, since Tua's been here. But let's not lie to ourselves. Like I said during the game, and like I've said in my takeaways that were on Twitter, guys, do you think if the Jets played us as well as they did in Week 14, and we have a performance like yesterday, especially in those first 3 quarters. You think we win that game? Let's be real here. Let's be real here. If that was the Jets in week 14, Miami loses. So let's all relax before, because I see everyone, we're going to talk a little bit further in depth. Well, actually kind of leads me into it, but Costa Nostra says, hey, Reason, do you mind if I spark this hopium pipe up? Hey, man, pack your bowl and spark it if you got to. But we need to relax on the Tyler Huntley stuff. I don't. If the Jets show up like they did in Week 14, we don't win. We don't win yet. We don't win yesterday. I told y'all from the beginning when we got the news that Tua might be doubtful, and I went live on Saturday. I get it. You were sitting. You were thinking about sitting Tua this week because you believe you could beat the Browns because they have DTR. Right? Like, the Jets, it's already a rivalry game. They already hate us. And they're going to get up and try and play for us. They're going to try and get up and play against us. You watch. You watch. Don't sleep on the fact it's a division rival. And, I mean, let's be honest here too, right? Now, I know the Jets got blown out, all right? They got blown out pretty badly. I get all that. But, Rodgers decided to take a seat. I mean, good for him. He's an absolute clown. But Rodgers decided to take a seat against the Bills. He decided to, he explains it as he benched himself. He's never going to, his ego would never allow him to tell anyone if he did get benched. Let's be honest with ourselves. So he's telling everyone, I benched myself. But the point still remains of where I'm heading with this. Tyrod Taylor came in there, was 11 of 14 for 83 yards and 2 touchdowns. And any true Dolphin fan knows Tyrod Taylor, he has actually been an issue for us historically. The only game he really wasn't an issue for us, he only had one bad game against us. And it was either, was it 22 or 21? No, it was 23, right? Yeah, it was 2023. Was the only bad game he's had against us, right? When he played for New York. I know he played us in 2021. He was with Houston, I'm pretty sure, wasn't he? Yeah, he wasn't good with Houston. I remember he threw 3 interceptions. We won 17-9. We barely won. That was with Flores, though. Last year, he was with the Giants, and I mean, what do you expect to win with the Giants? But he only came in for 12. He was 9 of 12 for 86 yards. Daniel Jones was the one who was bad against us. But anyways, when you look at Tyrod's starts over his career, his only bad start was 2021 when he started for the Houston Texans against us. But if you look at his career before that, Tyrod was always a problem for us. Always a problem. Remember in 2019 when he was with the Chargers and they beat us 30-10? Tyrod's been a problem for us before, man. So, man, do you remember in 2017? Beat us with the Bills beat us with the Bills twice that year in 2017. He's beat us with the Bills and the Chargers. So Tyrod's always been a problem against us. He's one of those guys who gets up out of bed against us. So I'm not going to sit here and just write off the Jets. Right? I'm not just going to sit here and write off the Jets. I remember what Tyrod was against us. And the only bad game was the Texans game, from what I remember. So, let's pause before we start taking premature victory laps that it's a wrap in New York. Especially if Tua ain't starting. If this team starts, because guess what? Even if Tua does start and this team plays the way it played around Tyler Huntley for the first 2.5, 3 quarters, we're going to be in trouble. That's the issue. Huntley played the best game a backup's played, but look at all the issues around him. You literally had 2 drives killed by McDaniel alone. The double reverse end around to Washington for the loss of 11 yards, that killed a drive. The 4th and inches toss ended a drive. Then you had personal fouls and pre-snap penalties, and another 1 or 2 drives from the offensive line. I mean, you only managed to score 6 points with Tyler Huntley in MetLife in the first 2 quarters. You're going to be down against the Jets heading into halftime. I said this during the game. And this is not an indictment on Tyler Huntley, because Tyler Huntley was definitely fine. Tyler Huntley had some plays called back because of penalties. So this is not an indictment on Tyler Huntley. This is an indictment on what I've been saying, that these issues are deeper than the quarterback. So don't count your chickens before they hatch on this one. That's all I'm going to say. And what this is going to come back to, with or without Tua in the lineup, I don't care what anyone tells me, with or without Tua in the lineup, you should have beat the Colts and or the Titans. Let alone, you should have never lost those 2 games, even with Tua out of the lineup. It's not like we were facing the Chiefs and legitimate playoff teams here. Even if you lost to the Colts, a team that was vying for the playoffs all the way till week 17, you still shouldn't lose to the Titans. We're the only team Will Levis has the number of. We're the only team Will Levis has the number of. It's crazy. But we're going to look back, and those 2 games are going to be the games we look at. Then you're going to look at the Buffalo game. Tua played lights out. Defense and special teams was not up to par. We lost. Arizona, self-inflicted mistakes. We lost. Green Bay, 3 guys got off the bus for that game? We lost. Tua finally has a bad game against a good team since he returns. It is against Texans. We lost. But I'm going to look back at the Colts and the Titans as massively dropped ball opportunities. Massively big drop ball opportunities is what I should say. So it is what it is, man. I'm sitting here watching Tyler Huntley yesterday. He's having to overcome bad coaching, right? 2 drives killed by McDaniel. He's having to overcome bad penalties from personnel on the offensive line and the offense around him. Bad protection at times. Now, every sack was not on the offensive line. I want to make that very clear here. A couple of them were on him. He has to overcome no run game. He has to overcome, and I love Malik, a key drop on 3rd down by Malik Washington in the second half. It's all the stuff Tua has to consistently overcome. Tyler Huntley had to overcome it yesterday. And shout out to him for getting the job done. And shout out to the defense for really showing up and not dropping the ball against DTR. Because if they were going to, listen, if we were going to be the defense that allows the first passing touchdown this season from DTR or the first rushing touchdown from DTR, embarrassing. And let's be honest here. Let's be real here too. We got away with a few defensively. Let's keep it a $150. Jerry Jeudy, some of DTR's nicest throws yesterday, Jerry Jeudy dropped. So they could have had even more points against us. There were third down drops. There were big chunk gain drops from Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy had some drops on some nice throws from DTR, and it could have been even worse for us. Think about that for a second. But I'll say this. Give me Buffalo in the first round. If Tua can play, give me Buffalo in the first round. You play Buffalo like you did in week 9, but you clean things up on the defensive side of the ball and the special teams unit. Good luck with that one. But at least defensive is realistic. You can beat that team. You can beat that team. But you're going to have to run the ball again. And again, what happened yesterday? Go back to we can't run the football. We looked like that same team that was struggling to get 60 yards just a couple of weeks ago. And that's not going to, you might as well pack it in and pack it up if you're going to run for 40, 50, or 60 yards in round 1. Because I've been telling y'all what was I saying? When we were on that little streak, right, against Green Bay, against the Jets, against Green Bay, against the against Green Bay, against the Jets, and against the Texans, where we couldn't run the ball, right? The Packers game, couldn't run the ball, right? We had 39 yards on 14 carries, all right? Texans game, couldn't run the ball, 19 carries, 52 yards, 2.7 yards per carry. Couldn't run the ball, all right? Jets, when the first time we saw them. Think about this, too. Do you remember the Jets held us to 19 carries for 44 yards and 2.3 yards per carry last time? Yeah. So anyways, my point is, you went on that 3-game streak, and then all of a sudden against the 49ers, you bust out. You go off for 30 carries for 166 yards. But what was I saying during that streak of not being able to run the ball against the Packers, the Jets, and the Texans? What was I saying? I said, we ran for 150 yards in week 9 against Buffalo, and we lost by 3, and Tua was lights out. If we don't rush for 150 yards, do you think we only lose by 3 to Buffalo? No. We probably lose by like 10. Even if Tua has as great of a game as he did, you probably lose by 10. So you better find that run game, and you better find it real quick, because it is not going to last, and it is not going to pop off heading into the playoffs if you make it. And remember, last time the Jets held you under 50 yards. You got to face them again this week. So, I don't know. It's not as easy as people are making it out to seem. That's all I know. All right. Let's get into my Jabroni of the week. But before I do get into the Jabroni of the week, this episode is sponsored by BetUS. Who do you think takes the final AFC playoff spot? Put it in the chat below. The Broncos, they need to win. Or, they need to win. Or they need a Miami and Cincinnati loss. The Dolphins, they need a win and a Denver loss. The Bengals, they need a win, a Denver loss, and a Miami loss. Who do you think takes the final AFC playoff spot? Smash that like button if you think it's the Dolphins. And go over to betus.com right now. Use promo code YouTube150. That's YouTube150. You get your first 3 deposits matched by 150% up to $2,000. Shout out to BetUS, some of the quickest payouts in the industry, 24/7 customer service. Thank you to them for sponsoring the channel. Who do you got making the playoffs from the AFC? Let me know. All right, if you're going to change coaches, get rid of Tua and Greer and go searching for the next man up. I think Tua is the guy, by the way. Build me an effing O-line first. Well, if you're getting rid of if you're getting rid of the coach, Greer's gone either way. He's not going to get another chance at the coach. Tua will be up to the new coach and the new GM. All right. So before we get into all the Tua information this week about what's going to happen this week, let's get into my Jabroni of the week. They were coming out yesterday. I'll tell you this much. Every Thompson truther that saw Huntley play and are saying he's now QB1. I'm seeing this narrative on X specifically. Everyone's talking about it on X. I haven't watched anything on YouTube. But I see all these Skylar Thompson truthers, all the people that said Skylar Thompson was the best quarterback, Skylar Thompson was QB1, all this nonsense. And now people are saying, well, Huntley's now QB1. I told you this offense was easy for anyone to run. Remind me how many backups we've been through and how many backups have played before we finally saw one play a competent game. Like, you finally get a good game from a backup. And remember, Tua's missed games, so there's been plenty of opportunities for backups to come in and out. From Brissett to Bridgewater to Mike White to Tim Boyle to Skylar Thompson to now Tyler Huntley. And Huntley wasn't impressive early on, and everyone was throwing him under the bus. But now after he has time to get comfortable, everyone wants, these people are just waiting for someone else to have a good game at the position so they can say, oh, he's the guy. It's not Tua because they got agendas. Listen, you can call me a Huntley an ear just like you want to call me a Tua an ear because I've kept the same energy. I have the same issues with this team when Tua was at quarterback that I do when Huntley was at quarterback yesterday. Because Huntley, I said, I was the first one to declare Huntley played in this community. I was the first one on X. I was tweeting during the game and during the live reaction. I was the first one to declare Tyler Huntley played the best game we've seen from a backup since Tua's been here. Now, I think the better question is, has Huntley locked in and totally earned that QB2 spot? Now, I said this last week before he even played the game. I said, I don't see them spending money on Russell Wilson or Sam Darnold. And then when you look at the rest of the QB list, from the Justin Fields to the Andy Daltons to everyone, it's not that impressive. By the time free agency rolls around, Huntley will have about 6 to 8 months in the offense. Might as well bring him back for continuity because of what? How Huntley said how complex this offense is. Don't listen to these jabronis that try to tell you this is an easy offense to learn. Huntley, his own words out of his mouth of why he was struggling early on in this offense was because of the motions and how complex everything is. Now, and then what did he say yesterday? Tua gave him a lot of pointers. Tua helped coach him along, etc., as well as Bevel, etc. So, let's pause on finally getting a good game from a backup And now we're just going to crown it because I know a bunch of you idiots were so quick to crown Skylar Thompson when he had done zip, zada, nothing, nil. And now you see the best game from a backup quarterback since Tua's been here, and all you haters are salivating and using this as another opportunity to divide the fan base instead of enjoying and celebrating the fact we finally got competent play from a backup quarterback. And, oh yeah, y'all seem to be dismissing the narrative that we were against the Browns and Dorian Thompson-Robinson, arguably the worst starter in the NFL. And like I said earlier, if it would have been the Jets playing at the level they're playing at week 14, we probably would have lost yesterday. So let's relax. So let's get into Tua, because we got a lot to talk about with Tua. And let's start it off with Adam Schefter. This is what Adam Schefter said today, all right, regarding Tua and his injury. We're going to go into him, Adam Schefter, Jesse Morse, and then what McDaniel said today, and go from there, all right? So, this is what Adam Schefter had to say today. Let me know in the chat that you can hear it and everything is A-okay. All right?
I don't think it's a lock he plays this week. I think his status is in question. I think that would be the fairest way of saying it. I think that hip was more banged up last week than people realize. It's the same hip that he had surgery on in college. It's a different spot. But the fact of the matter is it was bothering him last week, and got word over the weekend that he wasn't going to play. They're like, no, he's still trying to play. Okay. And obviously he felt like he couldn't play in the end. And I think that they're back in that spot again this week. I think Tua will see if he can go out there and try to play. But I think on Monday, 6 days out, I think it's absolutely fair to say that his status for the upcoming game against the Jets is in question. And we'll see if he can make it back.
So, I mean, you see Adam Schefter reporting right there that, like I reported Saturday night, to my patrons and my channel members, I heard privately he was pushing to play and that the call would come from above him. And we have since learned that the call did come from above him. It come from the medical staff, and Mike McDaniel is where that decision came from. Tua was pushing to play. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw what Calais Campbell said, but Calais Campbell said they're going to have to pull me off the field for me not to play when Calais talked to him last week about it. So, you know, Tua was pushing to play, and the call came down from the medical staff. Now, the question's been, what is it? Now, I heard it was a bruised hip, but then yesterday we're hearing it was a serious enough injury where he would risk significant injury if he played this weekend in week 17. But it's on the same hip that was surgically repaired from Alabama, but it's not in the same spot. So that tells us it's not in the area of where he had the posterior wall fracture or anything like that. So I don't know, but this is what Dr. Jesse Morse from the Fantasy Doctors had to say about the situation.
Tua Tagovailoa did not play today with a hip injury that he suffered 2 weeks ago. He played through it last week, but it sounds like he made it worse to the point where he was not able to go today. Thankfully, they were able to win, but he was not able to do much to the point where he was downgraded yesterday. Now, we did get an update earlier saying that this is not to the same extent as his hip dislocation that he required surgery for when he left Alabama before he was drafted by the Dolphins. But this sounds like something that is bothering him, and it may keep him out next week. The odds of them making it really far are unlikely. But with that being said, this could be a bad hip flexor, could be a labral tear. You know, it says he doesn't need surgery, but it'll be interesting to see if he's able to suit up next week.
So there you go, because that's something I wanted to play that clip because I never thought about that. Maybe it is a hip flexor injury. You know? Maybe it is a hip flexor injury. I'm just saying. That makes sense. Now, he said maybe it's a labral tear as well. That's another possibility. But we obviously know it's not a fracture. It's not a break. You know, is it a sprain? It's obviously not a dislocation or anything, or they would shut him down. So, like, we're trying to pinpoint this injury. Like, think of how you're thinking about this. I want you to think about this. This is how you have to look at it from the standpoint. It's significant enough where they're saying he could risk, by him starting, could risk serious injury, but they haven't moved him on IR, and they're still hopeful he turns a corner this week and can start against the Jets. What's significant that it would enough that it could lead to a major injury, but it would only cost you a game? Like, this is clearly something we are not going to learn unless, you know, word trickles down privately. But publicly, we are not going to learn until after the season. So Jesse Morris, he said it could be a labral tear, could be a hip flexor issue. Those make sense. Either way, if the Dolphins get eliminated this week, I expect to find out next week what this injury was. So that's totally what I expect. So, all right, let's get into some further information about this whole this whole situation is just, I can't believe it here. Honestly, like, it goes back to what I said. You know, it goes back to what I said. You got to draft a quarterback, and if you want to upgrade from Huntley, double dip in free agency. And hey, I've said I'd be fine taking a kid in the second or third round. You know where I'm at. Give me Jackson Dart. Give me Jackson Dart. We need to protect ourselves, man. Seriously. And at the same time, you need to build the offensive line for the run game and for the kid you draft and for the backup and for Tua. I just gave you 4 reasons. Fix your offensive line. Robert Hunt and Liam Eichenberg should not be out there protecting a quarterback we all know is injury prone right now. Come on. Malpractice. So here's further information. What do I think about Carson Beck? I think the Dolphins are going to be very interested in Carson Beck. Carson Beck makes sense for them. There's a couple of guys that I think make sense for them. And Carson Beck is definitely one of those guys I think that makes sense for them in the draft. Like, I don't think you're going to be high enough to get Shedeur or Cam or any of that. But, you know, I like Will Howard. I like Kyle McCord. I like Dylan Gabriel, Curtis Rourke, late. Obviously, I'm a Jackson Dart guy. You know what I mean? So I think he makes sense. Obviously, you know? I do think he makes sense. So just my opinion. But I think there are guys in this. I do think there are guys in this draft that you can get on day 2 or day 3 that make sense. You know? Again, Beck, Dart, Gabriel, Riley Leonard, Will Howard, Kyle McCord, Curtis Rourke. Those are guys that make sense for me. So getting into it here, the Miami Dolphins could be without their franchise quarterback for a must-win season finale against the New York Jets. Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel wasn't sure about Tua Tagovailoa's availability on Sunday as the quarterback continues to deal with a hip injury that forced him to miss the Week 17 matchup with the Cleveland Browns. McDaniel, however, did confirm Sunday that surgery wasn't currently on the table. Honestly, I don't really know, McDaniel said Monday. There was a lot of optimism last week in my mind based upon previous experience. So this week, I know one thing. Tyler Huntley will get more reps than Tua this week. To even begin to forecast the next week is difficult because we were waiting until the last hour, McDaniel said Sunday, later adding that it was not ideal in any way, shape, or form to have a game like this and not have him available, but it was also from a medical perspective not an option for him to play. We'll be hopeful for that as we progress. I can't even lean one way or the other, really. We'll see what the world has in store for us. After initially being listed as questionable, Miami downgraded Tagovailoa to doubtful on Saturday afternoon for ultimately ruling him out just before Sunday's kickoff. McDaniel explained that the decision to hold Tagovailoa out stems from not the injury worsening, but its lack of healing. Relative to a projected timeline based upon the previous week, I would say that it isn't improve as we were kind of forecasting, McDaniel added Monday. The move surprised teammates and fans alike. Calais Campbell said, I didn't know until right before the game. I looked over and saw him in sweats, and I was like, yeah, I guess Huntley's up. Tagovailoa sustained the injury during the Dolphins' Week 15 game against the Texans. He then took a big hit the subsequent week versus San Francisco, something that McDaniel said re-aggravated the hip. We were hoping and anticipating for a timeline similar to that, and as the week progressed, we didn't see the improvement we'd hoped for, but still really allowing his body the full amount of time to heal, McDaniel added Sunday. Ultimately, he absolutely wanted to play. It wasn't a pain tolerance thing because he wanted to. That's not in the equation for him. The main thing was that he not only was super susceptible to a much more significant injury based upon that injury if he were to fall in harm's way, but a major factor was the lack of strength due to the injury and his inability, as we forecasted, to protect himself and his teammates within the pocket and doing things that he normally has to do. Although Tagovailoa had to get surgery to repair a dislocated hip during his junior year at Alabama, McDaniel denied a connection between that and his latest injury. In fact, both Tagovailoa and coaches alike downplayed the injury severity during the last few weeks. It's good, Tagovailoa said Thursday. It's just like anyone else on the team and anyone else around the league. You get banged up a little bit towards the ending of the year, so you got to just take care of that. McDaniel and offensive coordinator Frank Smith shared similar sentiments ahead of the Niners game. It's no concern for us, Smith said December 19th. We're just working through all the little things that come out of each game with everyone. Frank was not wrong, McDaniel added on December 20th. It's something that in December football, there's a lot of things where players across the board are getting dinged, and you have to be able to execute with those things. He's certainly not made an issue for this week's prep. With Tagovailoa unable to suit up against the Browns, backup quarterback Tyler Huntley shined, completing 85% of his passes for 225 yards and a touchdown. He also added 52 yards on the ground as well as a rushing score. I actually feel more comfortable with these plays, Huntley said Sunday. So yeah, a couple weeks in the office definitely makes a difference. If Tagovailoa misses another game, Huntley will once again be in line to start. And if he can match his performance against the Browns, that might not be a bad thing, especially if Tagovailoa remains hobbled. I think what was evident was the positives of time for Snoop and how far he's come since we played with him. I thought that was a tremendous outing for him. I thought he made some plays and was very good with the ball. And those are always cool things for a player when they're playing a team they're on in that same calendar year, McDaniel said on Sunday. So, look at it, not a pain tolerant thing. It's not healing as fast as they wanted it and expected it to heal. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that's a positive sign, because that is most definitely not. But hopefully, here's my hope. If they were expecting it to heal over a week, they're probably expecting it to heal over a 2-week period. I will say that. Based on the little information they're throwing out to us, it does seem they think a second week could give it enough time. So, McDaniel, he did say that they're in a gray area. The Dolphins did not want to say specifically what the significant injury Tua was precisely at risk of. But the fact that McDaniel's already out here saying Huntley's going to take these reps, that does say a lot about the situation. You know, you got to say that, and you got to admit that. And not in a positive sense, by the way, might I add. Don't like the fact that we're in a gray area. And, I mean, he's not even, he's not even the only issue. I mean, we had a plethora of other injury updates today and from McDaniel. And this is what we got. Mike McDaniel said Tyler Huntley will get more practice reps than Tua Tagovailoa this week, and that Tagovailoa's status for the Jets game remains an unknown because of a hip injury that hasn't healed. Quote, we are in a gray area because his body did not cooperate. But McDaniel had more clarity on a couple other players. He said he's optimistic that Jalen Waddle will be able to play Sunday at the Jets. McDaniel said Waddle didn't play Cleveland partly because he would have been at risk of re-aggravating the injury playing on a wet field. See, maybe they took that into account too, right? Maybe the field conditions are what they took into account too with that hip injury. They thought he wasn't mobile and he could slip, and if he slips, it could be a wrap. It sounds unlikely that Anthony Walker Jr. will play Sunday. McDaniel said he doesn't totally expect Walker this week, but wouldn't completely rule it out and reiterated the injuries week to week. Dotson was excellent in Walker's absence, producing 15 tackles and an interception against Cleveland. McDaniel said Terron Armstead, who left the Cleveland game with an injury, has not been ruled out for the season, but his status for Sunday's Jets game is obviously in question. Quote, he's going to see what he can do. We'll approach this week with the mindset of getting Patrick Paul ready to start, but allowing Terron to see if he can get himself ready to play, McDaniel said. Armstead has battled the knee injury for more than 2 months and has missed one game because of it. Paul allowed 3 pressures and a sack and 22 pass blocking snaps after taking over at left tackle. McDaniel, who said Tagovailoa played against Cleveland was not an option medically, addressed a couple of other things. He said there's nothing notable about Devon Achane not having a carry late in the second quarter and early in the third quarter. Raheem Mostert, quote, was deserving of an opportunity, McDaniel said. McDaniel loves how Tyreek played. He caught all 9 of his targets on Sunday. McDaniel and the Dolphins needing Kansas City to help to beat Denver to give Miami a chance to make the playoffs. Quote, I will care about that the second our game is over. Both Miami and the Broncos will play at 4:25 and both will be televised in South Florida. McDaniel on kicker Jason Sanders, who has 25 field goals in a row, including 9 consecutive field goals of 50 or more. Quote, it's what you're looking for in a kicker. The moment isn't too big for him. It's very impressive what he's been able to put together since I've been here. Man, it would be more impressive if you could, finish off those. If he could finish off those extra points, it'd be even more impressive. Let me tell you that much. Guys, over 400 of you in the room, smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new, please. Do me the favor, subscribe if you're new. All right? But do me the big favor right now. Smash that like button. Smash that like button. There's over 400 of you in the chat right now, and that means we should have at least over 200 likes. All right? And right now we are sitting at about 137. So smash that like button. 63 more likes. Smash that like button. Smash it, all right? It goes a longer way than you guys think. It costs you nothing, and it takes 1 second. All right? So let's continue on here. The Dolphins, they got pretty, the clarity to the playoffs is obviously noticeable, but the Dolphins, they'll also, here's the deal. The Miami Dolphins, they're going to face Buffalo in round 1 if they make the playoffs. on either January 11th, 12th, or 13th at Buffalo. So get ready. And then, guess what? If you somehow beat Buffalo, you would then take on Kansas City on January 18th or 19th. So it ain't going to be easy, that's for sure. Ain't going to be easy at all. Handle your business, please. All right. Continuing on here. Let's get into it. The PFF grades from Week 17 for the Miami Dolphins. All right, your offensive grades. Check this out. Tyler Huntley was your top graded player on offense in 88.4. Tyreek Hill, number 2 at 72.9. Jonnu Smith, number 3 at 65.1. Craycraft, number 4 at 62.3. And Dwayne Eskridge, number 5 at 62. Man, they did not grade offensive players very well yesterday. Julian Hill was the worst graded at 35.6. Durham Smythe, 36.8, was the second worst. Isaiah Wynn, the third worst graded at 42.6. Aaron Brewer, the fourth worst graded at 46.3. And Patrick Paul was the fifth worst graded at 47.5. Patrick Paul had a 26.6 pass blocking grade yesterday. Oh my God. Wynn had an 18.8. Ugh. Not good at all. When you look at Tyler Huntley, he was no completions or attempts beyond 20 yards. He was 6 for 6 on the intermediate level. On the short level, he was 12 for 14. And behind the line of scrimmage, he was a clean 4 for 4. When he was kept clean, he was 20 of 22 for a touchdown, 215 yards, 9.8 yards per attempt. His average depth of target was 6.3. He had a drop, so his adjusted completion percentage was perfect, jumps to 100%. Under pressure, he was 2 of 4, 10 yards. His yards per attempt dropped from 9.8 to 2.5 under pressure. His average depth of target dropped from 6.3 to 2.3. His adjusted completion percentage remains at 66.7. And his passer rating drops from 122.5 to 56.3 when he's under pressure. When you look at the blocking, the Dolphins, the offensive line allowed 9 pressures. So by PFF's grades, Huntley created about 3 pressures on himself because they charged 12 pressures against Huntley and only 9 to blockers. So Patrick Paul allowed 3 pressures. He allowed a sack and 2 hurries. Aaron Brewer allowed 2 hurries. Robert Jones allowed a sack. And then Isaiah Wynn, Armstead, and Eichenberg each allowed a pressure. Aaron Brewer, 2 penalties. Armstead and Wynn, a penalty each. Patrick Paul, a penalty. Tyreek Hill and Ingold, a penalty. Kendall Lamb, a penalty. Ouch. Ouch, 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 ouch. Defensively, this is how they graded out. Tyrell Dotson was your top graded defender, 84.9. Jalen Ramsey, number 2 at an 80.3. Jordan Poyer, number 3 at a 79.7. He's been marginally better the last couple of games. Emmanuel Ogba, number 4 at a 76. And Jordan Brooks, number 5 at a 74.1. Kader Kohu at a 70.8. Your worst graded guys were Duke Riley, 38.2. Javon Holland at a 51.2. Quinn Bell at a 52.5. Elijah Campbell at a 53.9. And Deshaun Hand at a 54.7. And you look at the pressures. Emmanuel Ogba and Calais Campbell had the most pressures. They had 3 each. Chop Robinson had 2 pressures, as did Benito Jones. You look at the coverage matchups. This is honestly one of my favorite things to go over every week. I'm not going to lie to you. Jordan Brooks, who's targeted 9 times, allowed 7 receptions for 37 yards, 2 first downs. Kader Kohu, targeted 9 times, allowed 5 receptions for 41 yards. 2 drops. Storm Duck, targeted 5 times, allowed 4 receptions for 39 yards, 2 first downs. He also had a pass breakup on Michael Woods. Tyrell Dotson targeted 4 times, allowed 3 receptions for 15 yards. He had the interception on Jerry Jeudy. Javon Holland targeted 4 times, allowed 1 reception for 15 yards and a first down. Jerry Jeudy also had a drop against him. Jordan Poyer, he had a pass breakup on Pierre Strong. He was targeted 3 times, allowed 2 receptions for 14 yards and a first down. Ethan Bonner targeted twice, allowed 1 reception for 4 yards. Look at that, Bonner getting some action. Elijah Campbell targeted twice, allowed 1 reception for 5 yards and a first down. Jalen Ramsey targeted once, did not allow the reception, and he broke up the pass on Jerry Jeudy. That was a big play. Duke Riley targeted once against Michael Woods, and it was dropped. Jerry Jeudy dropped his lone target against Emmanuel Ogbah. Quinn Bell, Jordan Atkins was targeted against him, and the reception did not happen. So, there are your PFF grades for week 17. Man, shit could have been rougher, huh? Defense graded out really well. Offense, oh boy. Hey, they were letting Tyler Huntley down, so I don't blame him. I wish we'd see what the weekly grade on McDaniel is. When we get into the passing charts, this is Dorian Thompson-Robinson passing chart. All right, so he only threw beyond 15 yards 5 times, completed 2 of them, and was picked on 1 of them. But, I mean, even short throwing completions everywhere. He's not good. 24, 47, 170. A minus 12.7 completion percentage over expected. Man, I told y'all DTR was awful. Ugh, he's so bad. He is so bad. This is Huntley's chart when you look at it. Right? Huntley, I mean, he only attempted 4 passes beyond 15 yards. 1 right at 15 yards, and then, 2 at like 16 yards, and then 1 at about 17 yards. So, just short and sweet and to the point. 22 of 26, 225, a touchdown, and a plus 16.6 completion percentage over expected. But where are all the Tua haters that call him a dink and dunk? Where are y'all this week? Oh, yeah, that's right. Y'all are pushing the Huntley QB1 narrative. Listen, I'm a fan of Huntley. Call me a Huntley-aneer if you want, because, I use the same contextual points for him that I do for Tua, because the same context is remaining right now in terms of bad coaching around Huntley yesterday, but no run game, poor offensive line play at times, whether it was penalties or no drive in the run game. Drop by Malik Washington, botched snap by Aaron Brewer. Brutal. When you break down the next-gen stats for the game itself, Tyler Huntley had the longest completed air distance of 26.4 yards for the Dolphins. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, 31.9 yards for the Browns. Fastest ball carrier for the Dolphins. Tyler Huntley got up to 18.96 miles per hour. Pierre Strong got up to 19.78 miles per hour. Emmanuel Ogbah had the fastest sack yesterday at 3.3 seconds. Myles Garrett, he had the fastest sack for the Browns at 3.9 seconds. So you see right here, Tyler Huntley, they've got him a perfect 6 for 6 from the intermediate level. And again, every week there's discrepancies with PFF, they had him 6 for 6, but they had him 1 for 1 to the left and 5 for 5 to the middle. You can see next gen stats, who got chips in the ball, have him 2 for 2 to the left, 2 for 2 to the middle, and 2 for 2 to the right. Next gen stats, they have him 12 for 14 on the short level. And obviously, if you remember, we just went over it with PFF. On the short level, they also had him 12 of 14, but it was a little different. Next Gen Stats got him 3 for 3 to the left, 5 for 6 to the middle, 4 for 5 to the right. PFF, they had him 3 for 3 to the left, 6 for 8 to the middle, and 3 for 3 to the right. PFF had him 4 for 4 behind the line of scrimmage. So do Next Gen Stats. Next Gen Stats got him 2 for 2 to the left and 2 for 2 to the right. PFF had him 1 for 1 to the left and 3 for 3 to the middle. So there you go. Rushing, not a lot going on. Achane found his success off the edges, as did Huntley. Mostert, no success running up the middle. Deontay Foreman, he was finding a lot of success running off that left side, whereas Jerome Ford was finding success in the gaps. Pierre Strong was finding success running off the edge. Receiving, the league average of separation about 2.98 yards. Eskridge was at about 6.42. Tyreek Hill was about 3.42. Malik Washington was 3.09. Jonathan Smith was 3.62. River Craycraft was 1.91. On the flip side, Jamari Thrash was 0.97 yards. Jerry Jeudy, 2.96 yards. Atkins, 4.19 yards. Woods, 1.6 yards. And Elijah Moore, 2.81 yards. And then defensive pass rush. The league average of separation from the quarterback is about 4.57 yards. Ogba, 3.84. Chop, 3.97. Calais, 4.26. And Zach Sealer at 4.58. So all four of our top guys either beat it or are right at it. On the flip side, Kamara was 3.82, McGuire 3.93, Garrett 4.13, and Tomlinson 5.15. So those are your next gen stats for week 17, as we head into the final week, week 18. And guys, I don't know if you saw, guys and gals, I don't know if you saw, but guess what? Our opponents for next year have been announced. Here is what it looks like. At home, obviously, we got the Jets, the Patriots, and the Bills. But then next year we got the Ravens, the Bengals, the Chargers, the Saints, the Bucks, and the Commanders at home. I might have to head down for that Jaden Daniels game. On the road, obviously you got the Bills, the Patriots, the Jets. But then you've got to go. We're going to Cleveland again next year. We're going to Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, Atlanta, and Carolina. So a couple repeats, eh? Like we faced the Ravens a lot the last couple of years. Same with the Chargers. Colts we're going to face again. Browns we're going to face again. So those are our, honestly, I'm not going to lie. If you get this roster cleaned up and figured out, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't hate that schedule. I don't hate that schedule early on. But you got a ton of things to clean up. That's for damn sure. So that's what we're looking at this week in terms of the announcement of all of our opponents for 2025 and 2026. That's who you can expect to see on the schedule next year. Guys, smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. Appreciate all of you coming through. We had over 400 people in the chat today watching. I appreciate all of y'all for coming through. Man, all I know is we got to handle our business this week with or without Tua. Yeah, obviously, it matters whether he plays or not. But again, you got to handle your own business. And we got to hope Carson Wentz, Andy Reid, and the Chiefs find a way to pull that one out. It was so awkward to watch things go our way this weekend and then watch that team struggle for the first 2.5, 3 quarters against the Browns. Oh, embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. Let's handle the Jets. MetLife takeover. Let's get that W this week. And please, God, let the Chiefs win this weekend to open the door for us. Our game's been pushed back from 1 o'clock to a 4:25 p.m. start on Sunday. You already know what time it is. We'll be live reacting, and that game will be going on the same time the Broncos are playing the Chiefs. So it's going to be a very interesting Sunday. We're going to be scoreboard watching and game watching. Should be a fun one. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. As always, fins up. Smash that like button. Do me the favor. Smash it on your way out. Appreciate each and every one of you for coming through. And as always, fins up all day, every day. Shout out to BetUS for powering this episode. We'll see you on the next one.